What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about how to start a clothing brand. We will talk about how to make everything from t-shirts to jerseys to jackets to sublimation, cut and sew, and much more. Let's begin. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to talk about is how to make t-shirts. I talked about this in the previous video, so if you guys didn't see this, definitely watch. But if you did see this, you can fast forward to around the 10-minute mark. We will talk about direct to garment, screen printing, how to make t-shirts with a vinyl cutter, how to make t-shirts with a professional laser printer. We will talk about budget ways to make t-shirts and print on demand. We will also break down the complete process and talk about the pros and cons of each. Before we get into all of that, let's talk about how to buy blank t-shirts and the different types of shirts you can buy. There's going to be many websites where you guys can buy wholesale t-shirt blanks. In this example, we're going to use jiffyshirts.com. Just so you guys know, you don't need any kind of business license. Anyone can purchase from these sites. These sites will sell t-shirts anywhere from $1.50 all the way up to around $8. If you guys are going to be selling cheap t-shirts on eBay, you can go with something like a Gildan G500 t-shirt. These start at around $1.50. But if you guys are going to be selling high-end t-shirts for your fashion brand, it's better to go with something like a Bella Canvas or an American Apparel shirt. These are more expensive. Also, just so you guys know, white t-shirts will always be the cheapest. If you're getting black or colored t-shirts, they will be more expensive. If you guys are starting a high-end streetwear company, in my opinion, one of the best shirts you can buy is the American Apparel 2001 shirt. Now, if you guys buy this t-shirt, be very careful. They have a cheap version of it, which is called the 2001W. This is a horrible quality t-shirt. Don't buy it. It's nothing like the regular 2001 that's made in the US. T-shirts will also come in different styles. Regular t-shirts and fashion t-shirts. Regular t-shirts will usually have longer sleeves and a more loose fit, whereas fashion t-shirts have a short sleeve and more of a European fit. A shirt like the Gildan G500 is going to be made out of regular cotton and is going to have more of a cardboard feel to it, whereas a t-shirt like a Bella Canvas or an American Apparel is going to be made out of ring-spun cotton, which means the shirt is going to be much more higher quality and is going to be much softer. Alright guys, let's talk about the different ways to make t-shirts. Just so you guys know, no matter which method you choose, you will need a heat press machine, and I'll leave a link in the description. The first way to make t-shirts is DTG printing, which stands for direct to garment printing. This means the blank t-shirt is inserted into the printer, and the printer prints directly onto the shirt. This is great for one-off prints, or if you're making t-shirts with pictures. These printers usually cost over $10,000, and one of the best printers is the Epson F2100. This is industry standard. The good thing about these printers is that you don't have to purchase them outright. You can always finance them for around $300 a month. Just so you guys know, websites that make custom t-shirts like Printful and Teespring, they all use DTG printers. These printers print extremely high quality and the image will not wash away or fade. You can also make black t-shirts without a problem. The printers also print in white color, so you can make black t-shirts. If you're printing a black t-shirt, you will print the white ink first, and then the printer will print the colors on top. Each shirt will cost around $2 to print if you use factory Epson inks. Before you print on the shirt, you will also have to spray it with a pre-treating liquid. This will make the colors very bright and will also protect the shirt. You will then heat press the shirt and the shirt is ready. If you guys do buy a DTG printer, I really suggest you get a real professional heat press, which costs around $1,000. So let's talk about the pros and cons of DTG printing. The pros are it prints professional quality t-shirts, very high detail. It's very easy to set up and print. It's very fast to print. You can make black t-shirts with white ink. The cost to print is very cheap. And you can make one-off t-shirts. The cons are if you have bad credit, it's going to be expensive. Next, let's talk about screen printing. Screen printing is the oldest way to make t-shirts. It's also the most popular way. Screen printing is the cheapest way to make shirts if you're mass producing one shirt. Let's talk about how screen printing works. Screen printing is not for when you're making just one shirt like DTG. It's for mass producing one t-shirt. First, you will need to buy the screen printing machine. If you guys don't plan to open up a print shop, you don't have to buy a huge one. You can buy a small one. You can get the machine for a couple $100s. You will also need to buy a large format inkjet printer. You will need to buy transparent film, screens, frames, a UV light machine, and inks. The way screen printing works is that you will have to make a screen and frame for each color that's on the t-shirt. So if your shirt has 4 colors, you will have to make 4 screens and frames. The first thing you will do is divide the image by color in Photoshop, and then you will make a screen for each color layer. You will buy transparent film and then print each layer separately on your inkjet printer using black color. You will also print registration marks on each sheet so that you can align perfectly. You will then buy emulsion. You will take your screen, put emulsion on the screen, put the film on the UV machine, and put the screen on top of it. You will expose the screen to UV light for a few minutes. The printed parts that did not hit the UV light will then become very fragile, and you can easily wash them away with a water hose. You will then put the screens onto the screen printing machine, and you will use a squeegee and apply ink to every shirt. If you guys have a large screen printing machine, you can make a lot of t-shirts very fast. Inks for screen printing are extremely cheap, so it's very cheap to make t-shirts. The cool thing about screen printing t-shirts is that you guys can also do all kinds of metal colors such as gold, and you can also make foil t-shirts. So instead of ink, you can use glue and then apply foil and make metallic shirts. You guys can also add rhinestones if you want to make rhinestone t-shirts. Let's talk about the pros and cons of screen printing. The pros are you can start a professional t-shirt business with around $1,000. The quality of the t-shirts is going to be great and they will withstand a lot of washes. The cost to make a t-shirt is extremely cheap, and you can also make all kinds of cool t-shirts like foil. The cons are if you plan to make just one t-shirt, it won't make sense because the startup time and cost is just not worth it. Which leads to the next con, and that is that it takes a long time to set everything up. Also, screen printing can take up a lot of space and can be a messy process. Also, unlike DTG printing, which requires a digital file, you have to store your screen somewhere and that takes up space. Now let's talk about one more thing that can be done with screen printing, which is kind of cool, and that's plastisol transfer sheets. What a plastisol transfer is basically a screen print that's printed on either a clear film or a white piece of paper and then sent to you, and you could heat press it onto your shirt. So you don't have to actually do any of the work. The only thing that you need is a heat press machine and you're good to go. There are a lot of companies that provide this type of service, and you guys can get plastisol transfers for very cheap. One color starts at around 15 cents. The only thing is you guys have to pay a $25 fee to make the screens. So if you guys don't want to buy all the equipment, this can be a great alternative. Now the next way to make t-shirts is by using professional laser printers. So no guys, this cannot be a regular laser printer that you have at home. This has to be a special LED printer. An example is an Oki printer, which prints white and color. These printers can cost up to $10,000 depending on how large they can print and whether or not they print white. Basically the way it works is that you print the design on the transfer sheet and then heat press it onto the t-shirt. You will print the design on one shirt and then heat press it onto a glue side of another sheet and then peel it and press it onto the shirt. You guys can also make metallic foil shirts this way. Simply print on one sheet, put the foil over it, press, and peel the foil. The best transfer sheets in my opinion are Forever transfer sheets. They're the highest quality. Let's talk about the pros and cons of laser printers. Alright guys, so the pros of laser printing is that it's fast and easy, it's not messy, and you can also make all kinds of unique designs such as gold metallic foils. The cons are, obviously it's expensive. Also, the good quality transfer papers are not cheap. And to be honest with you guys, I prefer the results of DTG printing much more than laser. Alright, let's talk about the next way to make t-shirts, and that's with a vinyl cutter. Alright, just so you guys understand, with a vinyl cutter, you cannot make picture t-shirts. The way vinyl cutting works is you insert a sheet into the vinyl cutter, and the vinyl cutter will cut out your design. You guys can buy different color vinyls, and you can also buy unique vinyls such as glitter and metallic. You can also buy special vinyls such as 3D vinyl, where after you heat press it, the vinyl becomes puffy. You can also layer different colors together and have a multi-color design. You guys can also buy a cheap vinyl cutter such as the Cricut machine. The machine will come with a 3D designing software. You will simply make your stencil. You will then insert your vinyl and the machine will start cutting it out. After that, you will need to weed out the parts of the image that you will not be using. You will simply take a weeding tool and remove the unnecessary parts. You will then heat press the image onto the t-shirt and your shirt is ready. Let's talk about the pros and cons of vinyl cutters. The pros are vinyl cutters are cheap and you can make great quality t-shirts easily. You can also make unique t-shirts like glow in the dark, foil, and glitter shirts. The cons are you cannot print photos, and unless you guys are importing from Alibaba in large quantities, the foils can be expensive. Alright guys, very quick, let's talk about how to get tags for your t-shirts. There are going to be many websites such as Custom Labels for You, where you can order woven tags and paper tags for your t-shirts. These are very cheap. If you order in large quantities, they can run as little as 10 cents per tag. You guys can choose if you want sewn-on tags or if you want iron-on tags. When you order your t-shirts off of Jiffy Shirts, you would simply cut the tag off if it has a tag, or if it has a tear-away label, you just tear away the label and apply the tag. We talked about plastisol labels earlier. You guys can also order plastisol labels on websites like Etsy. You guys can get these for as little as 15 cents per label. Alright guys, very quickly, I want to talk about a couple of budget ways to make t-shirts. The first way is you guys can get an inkjet printer and use transfer sheets. It's recommended that you guys get a printer that prints A3, which is larger images. You guys can get a printer such as the Epson WF7710. This is a great option. Also, this printer can be converted to a sublimation printer if you want to go that route. You can get a sublimation spray, spray it on a plain cotton t-shirt, print the sublimation print, press, and you have a sublimated t-shirt. Keep in mind this can only be done with white shirts. These printers recently went up in price, so if you guys don't plan to do sublimation, you can get any regular printer that prints A3 for cheap. When you guys print on the transfer sheets, you will use the original ink, not the sublimation ink. These are great ways to start a side hustle, but if you guys want a real t-shirt business, I suggest you save up money and go with either DTG or screen printing. Let's talk about the next way to make t-shirts, and that's print on demand. This is one of the best and easiest ways to start a t-shirt business and requires no startup cost, but the catch is you guys need to be somewhat social media savvy and know how to drive traffic to your store. With print on demand, you don't have to buy any equipment or blank t-shirts. This is all done through a third-party company. Whenever you get an order, they make the t-shirt and send it to the customer. There are many websites such as Teespring and Printful that do this. You will simply upload your designs and link to your Shopify store. Make sure the designs you guys upload are in a PNG file, which means it's a transparent file. You guys will choose what kind of t-shirt you want to use, and whenever an order is placed, Printful will make the t-shirt and send it to the customer. So for example, if Printful charges $15 to make a t-shirt and you guys sell it for $25, that's a $10 profit. Let's talk about the pros and cons of print on demand. The pros are you guys don't have to buy any equipment or t-shirts, and there's no startup cost. The cons are if you guys are making these t-shirts yourself, it will cost you a lot less. Also, you need to learn how to drive traffic through social media for this to work. Alright guys, let's talk about how to make designs for your t-shirts. If you guys know how to design t-shirts yourself, that's great, but if you guys don't worry, you can go on websites such as Fiverr.com and have your designs made there. You can pay anywhere from $5 to $20 to have a design made. When you guys are finished, make sure you always get a master Adobe Illustrator file or a Photoshop PSD file. This way, if the files need to be edited, you can always do that. Alright guys, let's talk about sublimation printing. Sublimation printing is the method used when you're making all over t-shirts, sublimation jackets, jerseys, and more. Alright guys, let's talk about the equipment you will need to buy to make these shirts and also how sublimation works. Sublimation printing is when you use a special sublimation ink and heat press it on a polyester fabric. When the ink is pressed onto the fabric, it can never be washed off. It becomes one with the fabric. The first thing you guys will need is a large format sublimation printer. The best one is the Epson F6370, and this is industry standard. This printer costs a little bit over $6,000. Now don't let that discourage you guys. If you're a go-getter, not one of those people who's scared to start a business, it's almost impossible not to make money if you have this printer. There's also a ton of things you guys can do with this printer besides making t-shirts. What I recommend is you guys don't buy the printer outright and to finance it for around $300 a month. You guys can also put it on a credit card that has a 0 interest fee for a year and put it on that. It's always better to finance equipment instead of buying it outright. If you guys don't have credit, go to Capital One or Discover and get a secured credit card and pay it off for about 8 months. That should be enough to build some history. Now the next thing you guys will need is a large format heat press. This will also cost you around $7,000. Again, you guys can also finance this for around $300 a month. Basically, you'll be paying off the equipment with the sales you're going to be getting, and at the end you will have a free asset. You will also need sublimation paper rolls and sublimation ink. Aftermarket ink is very cheap, so your prints will cost you almost nothing. You can get wholesale inks on Alibaba by the gallon. The next thing you guys will need is to buy wholesale blank shirts, such as the American Apparel sublimated shirt, or you guys can get blackout sublimation shirts. Now these are basically sublimation t-shirts that have black sleeves and a black back. As you guys know, sublimation can only be printed on white fabric, and a lot of you guys ask me how to make black sublimation t-shirts, and this is a great way to do that. Also, in my opinion, these shirts are more prestige. Both of these types of t-shirts will cost you around $5 wholesale, and if you guys start selling a lot, you can source sublimation t-shirts for even less. The way sublimation printing works is you print your design on the sublimation paper using the large format Epson printer. You then put a blank shirt on top of the heat press and put the printed paper over it. You heat press the design on the blank shirt and then remove the paper. The ink becomes one with the polyester shirt. You can do this either on one side or do both sides. Keep in mind, when you guys print on blank sublimation shirts, there will be little white marks for areas that couldn't be printed on, and that's fine. This is very common with all over sublimated shirts. The way to prevent these is to make sure you flatten out the t-shirt prior to pressing as much as possible. The thing is, even large brands who sell sublimated t-shirts will still have some of these white marks. The only way to prevent this is to print the sleeves separately and have them sewn onto the t-shirt. This is basically going to be called a cut and sewn shirt because the process of making this shirt involves cutting the material and sewing it together. Let's talk about how you guys can get shirts like this manufactured in China. Alright guys, so if you want to make shirts that don't have these little white defects, the shirt has to be cut and sewn. So basically what you will do is print out the front of the shirt, the back of the shirt, the left and the right sleeve on the sublimation paper. You will then press it onto the fabric. You will cut it out and then have it sewn together. If you guys will be making these sublimation t-shirts at home with a large format printer and heat press, you guys can easily get a brother sewing machine and have it sewn together. The other option is having it manufactured in China. This is going to be the option for those people that can't get the printer right now. Alright guys, we're going to go on Alibaba.com. This is basically a website of Chinese manufacturers and suppliers. We're going to type in sublimation shirt, scroll down, let's click on this one right here. Alright guys, I don't know why they use a Cheeto shirt as an example, but okay, let's see. Alright, so right here they're saying if you order over 1,000 pieces, you're going to pay $5.50. Trust me guys, even if you order 300 pieces, you'll still pay around $4 to $5. Let's scroll down. Alright, and again they're showing how they sew the two fabrics together. Alright, so right here they're showing their factory. Cool, let's scroll down. And right here's the production process. Alright, so like I said guys, the first thing is you're going to send them the template. They're going to put your design on the template. After that, they're going to use their large format sublimation printer and print out the paper. Then they're going to use a large format heat press and sublimate that into the fabric. This is the fabric right here, and as you guys can see right here, there's two different shirts. These two are the front of the shirt, and this is the back of the shirt right here, these two. What they're going to do is cut everything out, and they're going to sew everything together. So they're going to sew the front and the back, and then they're going to sew the sleeves together. After that, they're going to check everything. Then they're going to stitch it, they're going to sew it. They'll do quality control. They will then package it and ship it out. Alright guys, so say we want to make a shirt similar to this one right here. How are we going to do that? So first, we will have to make our shirt design. We will use this one right here. Now obviously this is not a professional design, this is just an example for this video. Next we will go to Google Images and type in shirt template. Let's download this one right here. Now keep in mind guys, this shirt will be made in China, and China sizes and US sizes are not the same. So a China medium shirt might fit like a US large shirt. So what I suggest you guys do is take one of the shirts that have a cut and fit that you guys like and measure it. You will measure each size and give the measurements to the Chinese supplier. Now keep in mind you need to give the measurements in centimeters and not inches. You guys will measure everything such as the length of the shirt, the width of the shirt, and the length of the sleeves. You guys can write down all these measurements on the template. You will make a shirt in small, medium, large, and extra large, and you will do this for each shirt size. Now let's talk about how to actually place an order. The first thing you guys will do is make an Alibaba account. This is free. You will then message the manufacturer. You guys can do this by simply clicking the chat now button. You will tell them how many shirts you guys want made. You will show them the template example, the design, and then negotiate a price. After you guys negotiate a price, you will request a sample. This is very important. A sample will usually cost you around $50. You guys will pay through PayPal and you will receive a sample within a few weeks. Now guys, don't worry about the sample price, because if you do place an order with this manufacturer, the sample price you paid will be deducted from the full order price. So for example, if you place an order for $1,000 and you pay $50 for a sample, if you guys do place an order with this manufacturer, you'll only pay $950. You guys will receive the sample, and if you like it, you can place an order. So the way placing an order with a Chinese manufacturer works is you guys will pay a 30% deposit to start production, and then when production is finished, you will pay the remaining 70%. When production is finished, the manufacturer will show you photos, you guys will pay the remaining 70%, and they will ship everything. Now since t-shirts, jerseys, and jackets are light, and you can fit many in one box, you guys do not have to ship this by boat. You can send it by airmail. One very important tip is you guys have to tell the manufacturer to put the cost of goods as under $600. If they write that these goods cost over $600, you guys will have to pay customs fees. So this is very important, make sure you guys tell them this. Alright guys, let's talk about how to make custom jerseys. Making custom sublimation t-shirts, jerseys, sublimation jackets, and socks is the same process. The first thing we're going to do is go on Google Images and type in jersey template. You guys will make your own custom dimensions for each size. We're then going to go on Alibaba.com and type in either sublimation jersey or custom basketball jersey. So we see this manufacturer right here. Let's watch this video. So the first thing they're doing is getting the designs. Next, they're going to print the jerseys on the sublimation paper. After that, they will heat press it onto the sublimation mesh. After that, they will take the sublimation mesh and they're going to either cut it by hand or they're going to use a special machine that can detect lines and cut it precisely. And then they will sew everything together. Alright guys, let's scroll down. Now there's one more step when it comes to making jerseys, and that's adding the custom ribboning. You guys can tell the manufacturer how wide you want the ribbon to be, and you can also tell them what colors you want to use. Alright guys, so polyester material comes in many different types. You can make regular t-shirts, you can make jerseys, you can make custom jackets, socks, and much more. So when making jerseys, you will use mesh. The mesh can come in many different types. You can have heavy mesh, soft mesh, you can have shiny mesh, you can have regular mesh, you can have mesh with large holes or small holes. You will tell the manufacturer what kind you want and get samples, and then place the order. Alright guys, and there's one more part when it comes to making custom jerseys, and that's adding embroidery. Let's take a look at how this works. So basically a special machine will do the embroidering. Alright guys, let's talk about how to make different types of embroidery and patches. There are three main ways to do this. The first way you can do this is by using a regular sewing machine such as a Brother. These cost a few $100s and they're able to make small patches. This is ideal if you guys are doing small embroidery on soft hats, beanies, hoodies, shirts, and more. These machines can do embroidery on a small area, and this is ideal for smaller projects. If you guys want embroidery done on things such as snapback hats and clothing such as jerseys and jackets, you will need to use a standard embroidery machine. These machines usually cost over $10,000. The cool thing about these machines is that they can make woven embroidery. Woven embroidery is a much thinner thread and the details come out much better. Here on the left you guys can see a patch made with woven embroidering, and on the right a patch made with a regular sewing machine. This is also how woven neck labels are made for things such as t-shirts. Now there's one more way to make patches, and that's through sublimation printing. This is how the Toon Squad logo was made on this jersey. Let me show you guys how sublimation patches are made. The first thing you guys will do is get blank sublimation patches. Again, these are made out of polyester. You will then print your picture with sublimation ink. After that, you will put the paper onto the polyester part of the patch. You're going to heat press it for about a minute. Patch will be done. You will then heat press the patch onto the clothing and you're done. Alright, now one more thing you guys can do is make the letters and numbers with a vinyl cutter, just like we talked about earlier in the video. If you look at the 80s Chicago Bulls jerseys, this is how they were made. One more thing since we're talking about vinyl cutters, and by the way guys, in no way do I support this kind of stuff, but a couple years ago there was a trend of taking python skin and putting them on high-end Mitchell & Ness basketball jerseys, and this is exactly how they did it using a vinyl cutter. They would cut out the letters and numbers and stitch it onto the jersey. Alright guys, so if you're going to manufacture jerseys in China, you should be paying around $7 to $8 for jerseys that don't have any embroidery, again depending on the quality and the quantity, and around $10 to $12 if the jerseys do have embroidery. Alright guys, so say we want to make sublimation jackets similar to this chalkline jacket right here. How are we going to do that? The process is exactly the same. The only difference is we're going to use polyester jacket material. So again, we're going to go on Google Images and download the jacket template. Again, we're going to go on Alibaba.com and type in sublimation jacket. So to make these jackets, you guys will pay around $15 to $20. $25 is too much. Also keep in mind guys, a lot of these manufacturers can make everything for you. So they can make the t-shirts, jerseys, and more. You can use one manufacturer for everything if the price is right. Alright, so when you guys are making jackets, you will have two options. You can use a zipper, or you guys can use buttons. The price is going to be the same. Now, if you guys do use buttons, be careful. A lot of times these manufacturers will try to sell you plastic buttons. Make sure you guys tell them to use metal buttons only. Do not use plastic. Also, one more thing, you guys will choose the inside color right here, and you guys will choose if you want it padded or not. If you want it to be padded, you will pay about $1 extra. Alright guys, so say you want to make a jacket that doesn't have a design, that just has one color. They will just print the sublimation print in black and then press it. It's the same process. Now, if you guys want woven patches, you will pay about $1 extra. And if you guys want to make non-sublimation jackets with different materials, we'll talk about that in the cut and sew section. You guys can also easily make sublimated hoodies. The process is exactly the same. You will simply print out the design, heat press it onto the fabric, cut it out, sew it together, and you're done. Alright guys, real quick, let's talk about how to make sublimation socks. So the process to make these is exactly the same. You're going to go on Alibaba.com, you're going to type in sublimation socks, you're going to find a supplier. The cost to make these is around $1 per pair. You will ask the manufacturer for a template. They're going to email you the template. You're going to put your design into the template and send it back to them. You're going to get your sample, and if the sample is good, you'll place the order. Alright guys, let's talk about how to make custom clothing, otherwise known as cut and sewn clothing. Alright guys, so we're going to go on Alibaba, we're going to type in clothing manufacturer. Let's scroll down. So basically, these clothing manufacturers are going to have all the tools that you need to make whatever kind of clothing that you want. They're going to have everything from screen printing machines to DTG machines. They're going to have embroidery machines, and also they're going to have all kinds of different fabrics. What you guys will need to do is send the manufacturer a CAD sheet. The CAD sheet is basically a render or template of what the clothing is going to look like. It's going to have all the details such as what goes where, measurements, what kind of material is going to be used, and more. You guys can draw the CAD sheet, or you guys can design it in a program such as Photoshop. Alright guys, so say we want to make shorts just like these right here. How are we going to do that? The first thing we have to do is make a CAD sheet. We can either draw this out by hand or design it in Photoshop. We're going to write out the dimensions of the shorts in each size. We're going to tell the manufacturer what kind of material we want to use. In this case, it's going to be cotton. We're going to tell them the colors of the ribboning. We're going to tell them where to place the patches and where to do the embroidery. We're also going to send them the design for the metal lace tips. We're going to send them the CAD sheet, negotiate a price, and then get a sample. If the sample is good, we'll place the order. I also suggest you guys get multiple samples from different manufacturers. Alright guys, now there's one more way to get clothing manufactured if you live in a big city, and that's doing it locally in your fashion district. Most large cities in the US will have a fashion district. These fashion districts will have clothing manufacturers, and also you can find fabrics here. If you guys want to be more hands-on with the manufacturing process, this is definitely something you can do. If you guys are manufacturing clothing in China, you will pay around 10 cents for neck labels and paper tags. And if you guys are manufacturing locally, you can get neck tags and paper tags on Etsy.com. Alright guys, so my advice is if you guys are making sublimation jerseys, t-shirts, or jackets, do that on Alibaba overseas. But if you guys are making t-shirts or hoodies or hats, get the equipment that you need, such as a DTG printer or a screen printer, and do it yourself. If you guys want to make hats, buy the hats wholesale, find an embroidery service, pay them around $3 per hat, and do it like that. Alright guys, let's talk about the two main ways to sell clothing. The first way is through brick and mortar, and the second way is through online sales. So basically what brick and mortar is a physical store. So the way brick and mortar works is basically if it costs you $5 to make a t-shirt, you would sell it to the store owner for $15, and they would sell it for $30. So basically the way it would work is you guys would go around your city and look for small privately owned clothing stores. You guys would give them some of your clothing, and they will put it in their store for sale. This way you don't risk anything, and they don't risk anything. If customers go into their store and don't buy your products within a certain amount of time, the store owner will simply return the merchandise to you. If they do buy your stuff, the store owner will place a wholesale order from you. Your job will be to get your clothing in as many small stores as possible. When you guys are starting out, you should focus on selling your stuff online. I recommend you guys take a social media marketing course and learn how to use Shopify. Now, obviously, building a clothing brand is not something I'm going to explain in 1 minute. That's a topic for a whole nother video. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. If you guys have any questions, Feel free to ask in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.